Turbulence on the horizon. Air France KLM to cut yet more costs despite an operating profit of €79 million in the second quarter. Angeline Ong takes a look if that's enough to get it flying faster and higher than its rivals.
Air France has been battling double headwinds. Fuel costs are high and competition fierce due to low-cost and Gulf carriers. To fight back, the airline's been slashing costs and cutting routes, but so has its rivals. Let's see how they measure up. Starmine shows Air France KLM's operating margins underperforms Deutsche Lufthansa and British Airways owner IAG. Return on equity is also pretty poor, so it's no surprise that Air France KLM's ARM score is 32, lower than 38 for Lufthansa and 72 for IAG. This means Air France KLM is not likely to get upward analyst revisions compared to its rivals.
More upbeat news from Spain's banks today. La Caixa said first half profit more than doubled to €408 million. Numbers out also from many more big firms, including BSkyB and Anglo-American. Let's get out now to Manoj Ladwa, senior trader at TJ Markets. Manoj, let's start with BSkyB. Pretty solid results, profit up 9%, and they've announced a £500 million share buyback. But is this as good as it gets for them?
I think so. I think the dynamic for BSkyB has been changing quite considerably over the last few years or so. This is a company that's only managed to gain 51,000 new customers in the fourth quarter of this year, or in the fourth quarter of their numbers, as opposed to 72,000, which was forecasted. And with the share buyback, with the increased dividend, this is a company that seems to be going from growth to income and a more utility type play. And especially as it's hit its 10 million customer mark, it's got the three products that it wants, the broadband, the phone and the premium TV. So it seems to have lost that dynamic, but it's great for shareholders who are likely to stick with it for the long term. It's going to see less volatility in the share price. And BT seems like they're upping their game and taking it to BSkyB.
So BSkyB might hold on to its shareholders but might not attract many more investors?
Well, absolutely, and the stock price has had a decent bounce in the last couple of weeks or so, probably in anticipation of these decent results. So you may not see that much on the upside, you may not see that much on the downside, but there's not too much upside to be had here.
OK, not so good today though for Anglo-American. They've got a new CEO. He's vowed to slash costs, huge amount of cost cutting. And first half profits were down, I think, 15%. So he's under pressure already.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those first half profit numbers did beat expectations, but the new CEO has got a lot to do. And Anglo-American has underperformed its peers, primarily due to the rout that we've seen in the commodity markets, but also unrest in Africa and increased costs in its Brazilian operations as well. And the new CEO will finish his review in around about 3 months or so. We could see cost cutting coming through, we could see more disciplined spending plan and potentially asset sales as well. But the stock price has had a very big drop in last year or so, and we could start to see a bounce back, especially over the next few days or so, where we're calling the stock up around about 2% today, and we could start to see a better move to the upside.
How's the earnings season panned out for you so far here in Europe, and is there enough in it to drive the equity rally higher? It doesn't look like it.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, it's been relatively okay in Europe. Obviously, it's been a lot better in the States as well. But then, looking at equity prices and what they've done over the last 6 months or so, they have had a good run. We've had a couple of blips in the equity markets, but overall they've been relatively solid. And we're not seeing that much to the upside. We need to see more volume coming in, and we need to see equity prices moving up in a big way on the back of decent earnings. We're not quite seeing that at the moment, so you've got to ask whether we're close to a potential top here, and we could see something resembling a correction. OK, and if we do see that correction coming through, how much are we talking about? 5%, 10%? I can't see anything more than 10%. We saw, certainly in the UK, 10% a couple of months ago, and where we could potentially see that over the next month or two in the UK equity market or European equity markets. But then at that point, you'd start to see some value coming in.
OK, Manoj, thanks very much and have a great weekend. In other news, Halliburton has agreed to plead guilty to destroying evidence related to the Gulf of Mexico oil spill in 2010. So says the US Department of Justice. The plea agreement, which needs court approval, means the world's second biggest oilfield services company will have to pay a maximum fine of just $200,000. It's the third company to enter a guilty plea over the spill. Here in Europe, Vivendi says it plans to sell 85% of its stake in Activision Blizzard to the video games maker and its management for $8.2 billion. This is the second restructuring deal by the company in the past week as it tries to remake itself as a media-focused firm. Earlier this week, it announced it is to sell its controlling stake in Maroc Telecom for €4.2 billion, just over $5.5 billion. Plus, an embarrassment for the Church of England. It's admitted its pension fund invests in the backer of Wonga, a payday lender. The news comes after the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, was reported in the FT effectively declaring war on payday lenders, saying the church would seek to drive them out of business by launching its own credit unions. In world news, the driver behind the derailed train in Spain, which killed at least 80 people, is set to be questioned. He's currently in hospital under police guard. An official source said the tragedy was caused by excessive speed. Meanwhile, Egypt is braced for more bloodshed this Friday. Rival mass rallies have been called by the army that ousted Islamist President Mohamed Morsi and by his backers. A military source says the army has given Morsi's Muslim Brotherhood a Saturday deadline to end its resistance and join a military set plan for fresh elections. That's it for now. I'll leave you with our pick of the day, a toddler plucked alive from the wreckage of that train crash. Behind her and the fireman is the derailed train that killed at least 80 people in what has become one of Europe's worst rail disasters. I'm Jamie McGeever. This is Reuters.